Cool. Thank you, Raphael. That was a great intro, and just want to thank all the speakers before me. It's been a great session here. I'm going to dive into the topic of decentralized governance and kind of start at the beginning, but then also foreshadow where this might be heading. So I'm just going to read this quote that's on the slide because it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the presentation. But then I'll kind of go off the script on the slide deck. Decentralized governance begins in the digital realm, empowering communities to collaborate globally. Over time, these digital-first movements evolve, blending into the physical world to create new forms of governance, society, and even nations connected by values, and not geographic borders. So, just to put this in context, throughout history, governance has been shaped by the tools at hand. Stone tablets, printing presses, telegraphs, each innovation expand our ability to organize and make decisions. Today, blockchain represents the next great tool for governance, promising a transformation as profound as any before it, from the ancient city-states of Greece to today's globalized world. One question is constant: how do we organize ourselves effectively? And I think the answer that we've come to talk about today is the decentralized autonomous organization, or DAOs. The digital-first building blocks of the new kind of governance. So DAOs are revolutionizing traditional governance systems by leveraging blockchain to enable decentralized, transparent, democratic, and community-driven decision-making. Imagine small, nimble democracies where decision-making power is shared equally among participants, in theory at least. No centralized authority, just collective action. And then we have just the sheer massiveness of the DAO market right now. I've got deepdao.io pulled up, which if you're interested in DAOs, you might have been on this site before, but if you're not, DeepDAO is worth checking out just to give you an idea of how massive a scale we're talking about. As of right now, the total market cap of all reported DAO treasuries, which there has to be a ton more that aren't reported on DeepDAO, but it's $26.9 billion. So this isn't like some small, niche thing that there's not a ton of money behind. And at the same time, it is still a relatively unknown, obscure, mysterious kind of niche thing that it just happens that there is a lot of money in it right now. So I think it justifies what we're talking about today. So just building on that DAO concept further, so DAOs really are digital first, at least that's where they started. They didn't really govern real world assets, especially around the time in 2015 with the DAO. You may know is subject to that pretty big hack and controversy in the Ethereum world at the time. Around then, and even up till very recently, this idea that DAOs were anything more than digital, it's a very recent notion, and we're still trying to figure out how it can really work best, how DAOs can go from these loose, decentralized groups of people who often meet each other on, the internet, on Discord or Telegram, what have you, to something that looks more like a, internet native, digital first company, kind of the future, but really modern times. And there's a lot of people trying to solve for how we can fit these smart contracts, very rigid smart contract bound decentralized governance entities, organizations into our actual current society and legal frameworks. And economic and business frameworks. At St. Thomas Law, someone that I've been reading his work for a while is Professor Wolf Call. He's been at the forefront of really thinking about how DAOs can become companies by taking on legal wrappers to avoid personal liability of members, to engage in real-world contracts, legal agreements, pay taxes, all the things that we use, common legal structures like corporations, LLCs, trusts, associations, foundations, all those things in the kind of Web 2 world. Because during these experiments, dating back to 2015, it's become apparent that you really need to provide some legal structure to these things for them to be able to operate in the real world. So that brings us to our case study number 1, Bitcoin Beach. Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, El Zonte. This isn't a great example of governance, but I think you'll see where I'm going with it as we hit case study number 2. But just about 3,000 people live in El Zonte, aka Bitcoin Beach. Right now, over 45 businesses in this town, this little beach town, accept Bitcoin as payments. Zonte, aka Bitcoin Beach. Right now, over 45 businesses in this town, this little beach town, accept Bitcoin as payments. I think I read something like 90% of the residents of El Zonte have the Bitcoin Lightning wallet or some similar wallets where they're transacting with cryptocurrencies, which is way above the norm globally. What they've seen is that since adopting Bitcoin and being kind of a flag bearer for it in terms of urban centers that are championing cryptocurrency, they've seen a 95% increase in tourism, which is good because that's pretty much their economy. And the reason this is significant is because it's really the catalyst that led to El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as its one form of its national currency, at least. But at the same time, it's not governance. But it kind of leads the way to case study number 2, Prospera. So Prospera on Roatan Island in Honduras is actually what Brandon started off this session with, talking about. It's a startup society or startup city, which means it's starting a city from scratch. And it's a bit different from Bitcoin Beach because in this case, what they're building around is a platform for decentralized governance, for on-chain property registration, entitling, digital identity, payment transactions. Basically, this is kind of the city of the future in a way. And I know that Brandon's been there in person. I haven't. From my research, I couldn't tell how far along they were in the actual development of it. It seems pretty utopian, so I would express caution that any of these things are fully baked or it's going to be what you expect. But it's really kind of the vision and the ideas that are important here. Okay, so now you'll kind of see where we start with DAOs, which were entirely digital first or in the digital world. We saw a couple of case studies where these actual physical places are adopting decentralized governance and digital first blockchain kind of policies and even branding. Now we'll get to where this is kind of headed now. So network states. These are communities that combine the foundation, the digital foundation of DAOs with the physical infrastructure of hybrid models to create self-governing sovereign entities. Bitcoin Beach shows us what's possible, and blockchain empowers communities. Prospera takes this further, integrating governance tools. But what happens when we go beyond individual communities? That's where network states come in. Network states are highly aligned, digital-first communities built around shared values, not geographies. They start digitally like DAOs, using blockchain for coordination and decision-making. But then there's this defining attribute where the members want to crowdfund for actual physical real estate to tie this vision into the real world and create not just a whole new city like Prospera, but actual sovereign nations with all of the powers and benefits and governance that you would see of a country. This is maybe a little bit far off into the future, and maybe it's a little bit too utopian and idealistic, and we've already seen a number of these projects fail before kind of getting to where they even close to where they want to go. We're seeing a ton out there though, so there's definitely some interesting success stories, I would say, that are about to come up. And it might be the future, but I don't think it's anywhere near the near-term future that we're going to have legitimate network states in the next 5 years, in my opinion. We'll see what happens after that. But maybe just I'll wrap up with where I do think this might be heading, and kind of as we've seen the speakers before us talk about how blockchain is being adopted by government now, the legislation that's kind of pending before all these state legislators right now. In my opinion, after looking at the DAO to hybrid model to network state future, my opinion is that in the near term, it's going to look a lot more like it's looked with legacy systems. Blockchain is clearly on the rise and being integrated into a lot of these incumbent and legacy architecture systems and frameworks, from property registration to election voting, to digital identity, supply chains, everything that blockchain is good for. But I don't expect that we're going to see it rapidly revolutionize the world around us, kind of in a similar way that although AI is revolutionizing a lot of things behind the scenes for everyday American, it's kind of just a sideshow or something to hear about on public radio, perhaps. And at the same time, technologies like blockchain and AI are being baked into just about everything that we're using on a daily basis. I don't think that it's going to be the kind of thing that is that exciting to most people. It'll be exciting to the people in this room. And it'll probably be job security and hopefully, a lot of opportunities in the coming years. But, I think that I would temper expectations and expect that it's just going to become something that is something we take for granted in everyday life and don't even know we're using. It's all going to be under the hood. So, thank you.